All right, welcome to Stitches and Picks, the latest episode. Um, Update on a lot of the stuff that we've talked about before. Kristen is redoing her office. If you've been paying attention to the Instagram, and of course, as soon as we sit down to record this, her husband starts grinding the wall. So it's been an eventful lead up to this episode.
Yes, I will say, and when you said Kristen's been reading her office, that's actually kind of inaccurate. I'll give full credit to him. He has done so much of the work. I've done a little bit of painting, and that's about it. And he's done so much more work. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it's one of those weeks where like we can't either seem to get anything done. And then the moment that we're both like, yeah, we can get other stuff done, then he's like, I'm gonna do the thing that's really noisy while you need to record a podcast.
Well, yeah, that's always the. This is a perfect example of the life of a content creator, where you just kind of got to roll with the punches because inevitably your neighbor is going to have the leaf blower or
Yeah.
chainsaw or yeah, workers are doing something. But yeah, I'm doing a similar thing. I talked about in one of the first episodes the plan for my own office and um
Now you have
finally
to
got a
post it
standing
though.
desk. I will. I
Okay.
will. So yeah, I got a standing desk on top of the desk you're used to seeing behind me. If you check out the YouTube videos, if you're on the podcast, imagine music desk. Um, so that'll be exciting because I'll have a whiteboard to play with and different views and all that stuff. So totally nerding out on office stuff. But that's not why you came to listen. Um, in
I
the
think people might want to hear about how I was just gutted last time and like the follow up to that.
Right, yeah, we did kind of throw Kristen under the bus, but in um in the moments after launching that, circling back on it and looking at the stats, that was actually our top performing video on YouTube, and so
We
we're
just need to
gonna.
hang each other out to dry every single podcast. No, I'm just kidding. I don't feel bad about any of that. Like that is
Mhm,
I think like because of technical difficulties, we had to end that early.
mhm.
And I don't feel like we really kind of came. I know I probably said it, but like that type of stuff, like I will totally own up to my own actions and like what I've chosen and how I've gotten here and stuff. It
Right.
doesn't change it. I'm not like I didn't feel like you threw me into the bus. So that's what it's all
So
about.
what were your takeaways after talking about that? Because I know both you and I are the type of people that will talk about something and then we'll reflect on it later, and then
Yes.
the actual thing you wanted to say comes
Well,
up.
okay. So if anything, with like our conversations, and this has always happened, this is not new. With our conversations, I walk away and it's not that I like necessarily synthesize a lot or like rehash it, but it ends up being really motivating for me.
Mm,
So I have now completed, I now have my website to a point where once I get pictures in, I can hit launch. I really MVP'd it down. Like it's bare bones. It's like, hey, this is what I need to launch. I
mm-hmm,
stopped talking myself into this whole like, I need this and this and this. No, I need to get it launched. It's not launched yet because I do want to have nice photography. I want a nice is relative. I want an MVP version as well, but I have an idea of what I already want. I've already like designed it in my head. So I just need to do it. And I have to wait until my office is at least painted a little bit more to do it. So that's on the docket soon. Um, and then I have had like other things happen where I've just been like, okay, this connects to this, and this could be this. And then I
mm-hmm.
got back on TikTok too. So it's been motivating for me to get back into it and start to I've because of that, like the website that I put together, I did the about me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really like, okay, what's your value prop?
Right.
And I like outlined it all. I wrote it all out, and that was so helpful for me. And I'm like, duh, I know this. I know that when I write stuff out, even if it's clunky at first and I keep writing and then eventually I'll get to it, even if I edit it or if I just restart over because I've synthesized what I've like written the first time. And that's what it did for me. Is I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I know my niche is this for my knitting business. Here's what that means. for other people. It's not about me. It's not about like,
Right.
I want to be your friend. It's about like, here's what I can, the value that I can provide for you. I now can see and connect that to how I market that on different social media channels too. So I started to already put that in motion, which is funny because I went on TikTok and I told people about this podcast. So if they had gone full circle and come back to this and listen to this, they're going to be like, wait, yes, that video was part of my like plan
Mm-hmm.
of like knitting and the talking about sweaters because that is what I want to do with the business is just sweaters. So it all kind of like lines up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So, yeah, what are you finding with getting back into social? Because I know I have a love-hate relationship with social, so I'm
So do
always
I.
fascinated with how other people are doing it. Because, yeah,
I don't remember how I knew this, but like if you go on a hiatus and then you pick back up, most socials will suddenly give you a ton more reach because they're
mm,
trying to re-incentivize you again to like come
right,
back. And that's exactly what happened. Um, so it's just kind of like a matter of understanding what the like getting back into. I'm like, okay, the platforms are going to respond this way based on my behavior. And if I start now the next post, not going to get as many views. The post of that probably not going to get as many views. Like that's just the way it is. And I have to not let that information deter me from posting when I want to. So I'm trying to not necessarily go off the data on that in terms of like
yeah,
reach. Engagement, yes, that's a whole different thing. Like if people are really engaging with it and it gets a decent amount of reach, um, and the engagement is then therefore like I'm not articulating this well. If your engagement sucks, if your reach sucks, your engagement may not be as good because it may not have actually reached the right people. That's going to happen. And you can't
right,
always let that data like tell you that you just should give up because that's what the platforms are there to do. They're trying
yeah.
to like create this like roller coaster of emotions so you get addicted and want to come back.
Well, and it's also the body of work too. Like that's the one thing
Yes.
that I remind myself
That's a
with
good point.
the guitar site. And it's funny actually because I was watching one of my favorite YouTube channels that is exclusively guitar pedals. Um, it's called That Pedal Show. It's awesome if you're into guitars. They were even talking about how they're not technically making videos that YouTube would like, but they're frustrated by all the work that goes into creating a really good show that then you think should reach a ton of people, but then it
Yep.
doesn't.
Yep.
And you're like, why? Right?
Yep.
However, the fact that you are consistently doing something and building it, the right people will find it. I mean, um, you might have to do some advertising or do some other things to get people there initially, but it does build on itself, right? And
That's true.
that's been a takeaway at least in the second half of this year for me with beginning guitar. Because beginning of the year we had injuries for Kristen and myself, and then he was finally able to take some students and get out there and start performing more. So he had to go after the things that were paying the bills. So no fault there. But then between technical difficulties and then schedule problems for recording, and we've talked on this before about just how intricate um, the guitar video discussion stuff is in terms of getting the right audio quality. Um, there's just not been much happening in terms of like producing stuff, but it's easy to get down on yourself on that. It's just like,
Yep.
oh man, now I'm dropping the ball. I suck at this. Why?
Yep.
um, but really, honestly, when I go and I look at the numbers, we're not doing big advertising. We're not like it's all just word of mouth and organic reach and whatever else. And we crossed the 5,000 view mark recently,
That's awesome.
which is great. The that is way more than I would have anticipated because when we
Right.
first started out, it was, we know this is a crowded space. We know we're not doing, ads or anything flashy, and we're not chasing the algorithm. We're just going to make stuff that we're proud of, and the way that we think things should be taught.
Yeah.
Um, and our main goal that first year was really to try to hit just 100 views a month. So the fact that by the end of year 2 we're at, over 5,000, it's pretty good. We're happy
That's a
with
really
that.
good point. You guys set goals for yourself. So I need to start thinking about what I want to do for my goals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put that pen to paper. And when you were talking about having that like library of work or whatever, I was thinking
Mm-hmm.
about when I've been scrolling TikTok lately, and when I find like a content creator that I'm interested in, I click through and I look at their profile and I see all of their videos,
Right.
right? Like, and then I start playing some of those and watching some of those, and I kind of get a sense for who they are a little bit more well-rounded. I've done that with like a good handful. In fact, I was on TikTok maybe last night too long because TikTok said to me, "It looks like you've been scrolling for a while. You should take a breath." And it was like this video of this person like taking a, I was like, "Oh shit, I should go to bed." So there's that. But yeah, so it's that's a good reminder of like setting goals, but keeping a reasonable head on your shoulders about like the data that you're going to see potentially too. And if
Mm-hmm.
you aren't meeting your goals with their, if the goals are metric based, what do you need to do to get there? And I was thinking about, okay, so you keep saying like we're not doing paid, we're not doing the flashy stuff. I being in paid previously and being in search engine optimization, which one could claim organic, and I've also been in organic social too.
Right.
Um, there is a significant difference of the type of audience that you start to garner when you do paid, because and you know this, like you're forcing your information in someone's feed, whether
Yeah.
it's a TV ad, which I know that that's not small business stuff, but like social ads, you're forcing yourself into someone's viewpoint when you don't even know that they want you. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole different type of conversation or a whole different audience. Then, yes, you may actually get somebody and you acquire them, but it is more expensive, not only just because you're literally paying for it, but because you are trying to go convince somebody of something that they didn't even maybe know that they needed you for. So, like,
Right.
it isn't always, my point is, it's not the best tactic, especially when starting a business. And it's not the best tactic for a lot of small businesses because you are not finding the quality clientele that you're actually looking for.
Right. Right. Yeah, and I think we've talked about this before on other stuff too. Is whether or not doing a particular activity is going to be worth it, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
we have a certain amount of time each week to do, the side hustle stuff or the bootstrapping stuff. And for me, the equation, if I look at TikTok versus doing a video or doing
Right.
some writing or something like that, or my biggest challenge, putzing around with how to get good audio quality really quickly and being able to replicate it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not an easy feat. Um, that to me is a better investment than shooting a bunch of videos for TikTok that might have like a 3-second lifespan.
Right. That makes
And I
complete sense
was,
for your business.
yeah, well, but I was reminded of it too because there are some of the guitar player influencers that started out as YouTubers and are now like they used it to launch their bands and whatever else. There was one in particular today that it was a TikTok that was cross post into Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about how Green Day stopped a concert because of something he did. And like that's as much of it as I caught before I just moved along to it. But it just took me out of it and it reminded me just, okay, you're chasing your audience at this point because you built an audience with your YouTube channel
Yes.
around gear demos and um, getting good sounds, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And now you're expanding out to this other stuff, but it's because it gets the engagement on that particular channel, not because it necessarily increases your views on YouTube and all that. Like, picking your one channel and sticking to it and doing that really, really, really well. And some could argue that, this particular guy has already done that and should be branching out, which, okay, fine. Um,
I don't know.
but
I don't
ultimately it did
know.
hit. My perception of him and his brand
Hmm.
did take a hit this morning.
Interesting.
Because like you're taking this time to, I don't know, just it did one, it didn't resonate me. Not every piece of content has to resonate, right? And
True.
nor will it.
True.
It's just a reality. Um, but a lot, like so much of what I see on TikTok or Instagram these days, it doesn't pass the so what test for me.
I know you've talked about this before, and like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, when I first got on TikTok and you told me about this, you ruined a lot of TikTok for me. But then I mean, but that's the thing is like it the supposedly the good stuff will get kind of make its way to the top. And that sometimes that does happen a lot. But yeah, if you go on TikTok too much, I think in particular, it is the so what.
And so much of it too, it just feels like attention seeking behavior,
Yeah,
which,
but that's literally what the platform's based off. That's literally what all of social media is based off of.
yeah. And, I'm pegging myself as the, grumpy old man right now. And that's
Which is
fine.
funny because you're younger than me.
Yeah. Um, but again, it's me. It's also, we've talked about this too. What are your strengths? My strengths tend to be long form
Yeah,
narrative content, not, and like doing the work and doing it over time, not necessarily the, you know,
that's the way that you've designed your business too, and that was very much intentional. I think there's
mm,
like that there's so much to be said for like you try out different channels and do what feels right for you, but also at the same time like and if it feels right for you and it's right for your business too, because obviously if it is around if your whole entire business is content creation, you should be doing what you actually enjoy versus like trying to chase your audience and make something work, which I think
right.
is why I maybe need to admit this that I maybe that was what was happening on Instagram for me and it's just easier on TikTok for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I don't know. I have to examine that probably a little bit.
There's something to reflect on. Because, yeah, I
Yeah.
think the other thing, too, is if you are starting a side thing with the idea of actually making money and not just, doing it because you like doing it,
Right.
how are you going to monetize it? If you're on TikTok or like YouTube Shorts or whatever else, like that's kind of the latest bait and switch. I mean, we saw it with Facebook when they first did, pages. Like, oh, put up all your stuff, companies, on these pages, and we'll give you organic. Nope, now you have to pay for it,
Mm.
right, to get your reach. And then now it's, oh, creators, come here,
Yep.
do all of this work, and you'll be able to get some money. Oh no, we're only going to pay you, 2 cents per thousand views or whatever.
Right.
I don't know what the actual amount is, so don't
Yeah.
quote me on that. But um, I know it's a lot lower than most people think, you know.
For
And
me, since my revenue stream is built off of patterns, it patterns take forever to make. Like they take
mhm,
a very long time to make and then vet and then test and then publish. So really the short form content is actually a really good way for me to continually market because I can talk about different pieces of a pattern or different parts of a different ways of knitting a sweater or different things you'll want to look out for or what I like or what I don't like and why. And I
right,
can do the more education piece in the short form. Your business is built on the education is the value prop.
mhm,
And so it's long form content. So short form and long form content at the same time, to your point, like you only have so much time in a day. Like it doesn't, there's a different way. Is that's actually, I think, very as my business is evolving and how you've really figured out where your key is, like how ours are actually very different.
mhm. Yeah, well, and to your point of the finding the correct audience, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like if I started the TikTok game and did it where, okay, here's me playing through this, here's doing, like you see a lot of this with a lot of the guitar teacher people. It's like, here's how to play AC/DC, and then here's riff one, here's riff two. I have never been that kind of guitar
Right.
player. I started playing to write my own stuff, not to, play everybody else's. Um, I mean, there's a whole episode there on the copyright issues of that and
Mm,
YouTube and whatever else. Um, but that space is already really crowded, right? Um, and I don't want the people who only want to watch flashy licks,
right. That's
right?
not your audience.
We're going to provide the proper context. If you want to learn it online, great. If you want to go learn it, in store with a particular person, great. Like you can then augment it with lessons that you find online. Like it is about having more people play guitar.
Yeah.
It is not about, go be the craziest shredder in the world. No, you don't need to be.
Right.
Like that takes a lot of work, and then you have to listen to a particular kind of music. And like as much as I like listening to blues, I will never be a blues player. I just
Right.
don't play that way. That's just, you know, I'm not that guitar player. Um, so I'm not gonna try to teach that. I can give you some basic concepts, like here's how you get started. But if you really want to learn blues, you gotta go somewhere else.
Right.
And there are plenty of other sites, that do that. Um, so yeah, yeah.
That speaks to the niche though too. Niche and
Mm-hmm.
audience going hand in hand. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of like reflections from over the year of like I I know I don't have a lot to like show for it, but and I mean we've talked about like the other hurdles and as a tangent, like even this week I had a flare up for my disorder. So I was like, okay, cool. Like back to reality a little bit. Like this is how life is. Um, but even though I have not a ton of like tactical, physical, digital thing to show for it, I have made a ton of progress in the way that I have thought about my business, how I want to go to market with it, what my niche is, where my audience is, like all of that stuff. Could I have
Mm-hmm.
accelerated that timeline? Absolutely. But there is some like beauty in it for me personally of like how I took my
Mm-hmm.
time to do some of these things and like process it. Because I
Right.
have been finding like the amount of time that I am like when I'm knitting, I'm thinking about I'm right now I'm knitting patterns that aren't mine and I'm thinking about what my experience is like and what
Mm-hmm.
that how that translates for other people. So like right now I'm knitting something that I've never knitted before and I'm extremely frustrated with the pattern. I hate the way the pattern's written. And I paid for this pattern.
Right.
And I'm pissed that I paid like $5 for this pattern because it's pissing me off. I don't think it's necessarily written poorly. It's just not my style. And
Right.
there are certain styles that I like to have. And this one is totally out of my wheelhouse. So I'm stretching myself. So it's a good reminder too of like what someone who's never knit a sweater might be feeling when they're knitting a sweater. So, okay, what does that mean? Making those translations. What does that mean for what I'm putting in my patterns too? So like
Right.
I have a lot to show for and reflecting back from the year too.
Well, but it's also, if you are going to launch something, you need to feel like you're in a good spot with it.
Yes.
Right. I mean, I felt this in like a couple of my, regular jobs where you take a new job and then it takes you 6 months to feel like you're not standing in quicksand. And then you can
Right.
go, make the recommendations and show them why, they hired you.
Yeah.
I think it's similar with, figuring out, here's my idea, here's how I can bring it to the world. Am I comfortable with that? Right? I
Yeah.
mean, because especially if you do the whole social thing, what kind of blowback are you going to get?
I
Right?
love that you always go negative with it right away.
Well, I have crisis
You're not
management experience. I
you're
can't
not
help that.
wrong. Like we've talked about this. Like you have potential to totally step in shit and like be like, oh fuck, I just fucked up. Also, tangent. I'm really sad that we've stopped introducing ourselves in the beginning of the podcast because I really just want to be like, hey, I'm Kristen. I'm the entire whole sole reason why we use the explicit tag on our podcast. Um, so yes, you can totally, but to kind of like not to not go negative, but when you I think we've kind of I feel like I've talked around this before too of like you put yourself out there and it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't feel comfortable with it. So that's why what you're saying right now is really resonating with me. If like but connecting it to like a 9 to 5 type thing, I've never thought about it that way. And that is exactly right.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that there's so many people that I know that compartmentalize what they do for their job versus what they want to do, like with a side thing. And the whole reason that you will be good at having a side thing or growing your own thing is the fact that you have the experience, you have some expertise, right? And you have the drive to test something out. Like one of my favorite bands was founded under the question of what would a heavier Iron Maiden sound like?
Hmm. I'm
Cool.
making
Now they're
some
one of the.
assumptions on this based on I'm guessing Iron Maiden is another band.
Oh my God. That's on public record. I can't believe you said that. All right.
I'm not a metalhead. I'm not even like
70s. Okay.
especially anything that predates 1985 unless it was a major pop singer. I don't know who they are.
Okay. Um, we'll talk offline.
I'm probably not the only one. Someone else was probably like, I'm gonna make the assumption that that's a band.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, that hurts a little, but okay.
Good. I've got my dab back at you in for the day.
Well, no, but then a different band. I read an interview with the lead guitar player, and he was saying, I would be driving back and forth between work and band rehearsals and listening to the radio, and there was nothing on that I would want to listen to. So instead of just complaining about it, I decided to write my own songs. And then what happened? That band blew up,
And the name of
because
that band is
Lamb of God.
okay. Yeah,
Even
also
though they're not a Christian band, they're not. But that's their name.
I'm gonna
So.
admit something on public record right now that I'm a little embarrassed about. But if they were a religious band, I probably would have known who they are because I was brought up religious.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, no, this band's
live above
original
me.
name was Burn the
Currently
Priest.
an atheist.
And then they switched over to Lamb of God. They've
Okay.
won Grammys. They've done huge tours. Like in the metal scene, they're huge. But they're not a radio play band. They're not like. That's why, like, I think the metal community, to me at least, is a perfect example of you don't have to be huge to make a decent living, right?
That's
Because there are so many bands that I listen to that are my absolute favorite that they've either never had a radio hit, or they've had one, or they've never even been on the radio until like satellite radio came on, and it didn't matter that the songs were 5 minutes long, 7 minutes long, right?
that sounds painful.
What, 7 minute song?
Yes.
Let me give you the 36-minute prog thing that
Nope.
entire second disc can just go
No
to.
metal, no techno.
Those are my bread and butter. What the hell?
Yeah, no. Neither of those, thank you.
Okay. Anything with steel drums you can keep away from me. Or reggae or
Oh, reggaeton.
I hate it so much.
Love it.
Um
Carol G. Sorry.
Yeah, anyway. So you find your right audience, you can make a good living without ever being really well known. And I think of some of even to circle back to the day job stuff, when I was doing agency work, a lot of my clients were these small mom and pop manufacturing companies that
Mm,
are always tucked away in these industrial parks that you're always like, I wonder who works there.
yeah.
When you're driving past it, but then it's this family business that's been there for 80 years and
Yeah.
has had three generations work there, and they've made a good living just doing, you know, metal
That
die
to me, I think is
casts.
the dream right there. Like, not the whole necessarily generational part, but like having the business that provides you with your like your lifestyle. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not this like ridiculous, famous, whatever, like everyone knows your name, you're the next whatever. I'm not gonna. Anyways, I don't, that's not my dream. My dream is not
Mm-hmm.
like I'm
Right.
just, I was actually thinking about like the ever evolving dream of owning a yarn shop, which I get, like, I don't think is super lucrative, but I love this idea. And I was like, ooh, I could just, I went to a yarn shop a couple weekends ago, like probably like over a month ago now. And I was like, I was looking, my sister was like, I need yarn that's this type of specific yarn. Couldn't find it in the color that I wanted at this yarn shop. And they had a ton of yarn. And so I was like, she wanted natural fibers. She wanted either like animal fibers or like natural fibers. She didn't want anything acrylic or nylon or plastic. And there's a whole thing in it because like I could go into it. It's whatever you like to use as a knitter is your thing. Her thing
Right.
right now is to use only natural. Um, and I couldn't find like the right colors for the and the right weight and the right specificity, everything that she needed for these two patterns that she wanted to knit. And she's down in the South America, so she can't get her hands on this stuff. So I had to like buy it for her and then ship it to her when she was visiting the States. Um, and I was like, oh, what if I had a yarn shop that only did natural fibers? Bamboo, silk, wool, yak, alpaca, one of my favorites. Like, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's my dream. I just want to own a yarn shop. That's all I want. I know it's not glamorous and I know it's not lucrative.
That to me sounds like a forever side hustle. Like it
Yes,
would be really good, but it will only ever be one of your income
revenue streams.
streams.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
probably would only make enough to keep its doors open. That's like, that'd be my goal for it. Because I don't think it would be like a source of income, really. Like, not a true revenue stream. I don't know. I like the
Yeah.
idea of building a place for community, having like a physical location, especially coming out of the pandemic. I think coming out of the pandemic, ish, finger quotes, you know, we're still dealing with it. Um, that idea of having like a space for community is like really just it seems amazing.
Yeah, and I think that's the one of the things I've been thinking about with, at least at the time of this recording, everybody is watching the spectacular trash fire that is Twitter right now.
Okay, I wasn't gonna mention that, but that's what I almost mentioned. I just decided not to.
Um, I'm not going to go in it because I don't need to do hearsay and, you know,
We're all gonna see what happens in a couple of weeks anyways. So,
and the
or
cult of
days.
Elon will always be yelling at everybody who says anything against him. So bring it
Oh, to
on.
be a dictator.
Um, the reason I bring that up is because of all the conversations of, okay, well, if I'm not on Twitter, where am I going? And I keep hearing this Mastodon platform that I haven't checked out
I
yet.
haven't heard of this.
So I'm not endorsing it. I'm just bringing it up. Um,
Not endorsing it. For
the
legal reasons. We are not endorsing any platform for any reason.
No, no. Um, but it really is the okay. Where's your audience going? The platform, where are they? But then also full circle of it. If you have spent the last 12 years or so, right? Building up your audience and your particular group of people in that platform without any idea of bringing them into another area like an email list or your website or something that you control. Now you have just like that entire audience goes 20 different ways because some will go to this Mastodon place, other places, some people will go to these
Yep.
other sort of distributed services. Some people go to Insta or LinkedIn or whatever your field is. Um, but now what do you do? Because
Right.
you have to reinvest in building it on that platform, which at any time could change their algorithms, at any time could have some sort of, you know, um, activist investor or, authoritative person, um, take over. So it's the, mind what you do and, at least know or be able to say that you have thought about some of the consequences of, okay, if I'm going to do a TikTok strategy, I'm going to
Yeah, that's
build an
a
audience
great
there,
point.
and then I'm going to get them into some sort of thing that you control, right? You can always change email platforms, but every single email platform lets you export your list, right?
So, okay. It goes back to like the rented land thing, but really, like
Mm-hmm.
on social, you're a sharecropper. That's what you are. Um, the I was in, I don't know where I saw it. I'm trying to rack my brain of where I saw it, but I thought of you. I saw a PowerPoint because I went to a couple of conferences and stuff recently. I saw a PowerPoint and it said like owned media and it had social. And I was like, that's not an owned platform. That is not owned.
Mm-mm.
You don't own that. You don't have full control over that. That is not accurate. That is not right. That is not right. You're owned are your websites and your email list. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe if you have like a mobile app or something else, but like that's it.
Yeah.
I was like stunned that I saw that.
Well, and the sad thing about that too is then, how smashed was that person's credibility in your eyes just with that one that
It
one
wasn't.
slide. So,
If that tells you where they started.
where was that? What, say that again?
If that tells you where they started in my eyes.
I didn't hear. So I'll just edit it out.
What?
Huh?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Never mind. Let's
So
move on.
what? Yeah. Okay. Um. Cool. Anyway, this has been a good check-in. I feel like it's been
Yeah,
a good check-in.
good reflection as we kind of end the year.
Yeah. So a bit of housekeeping on that for anybody still listening. Thank you for listening and hanging out with us. Um, we are going to do a couple of episodes to end the year after Thanksgiving. Um, to basically either reflect on the year or talk about kind of end of the year rituals with setting up goals for next year and how things are going. And
I
then
will
we'll
come
have
with
an
goals
announcement.
prepared.
um, we will also have an announcement on what the future of this will look like. So, looking forward to that. And we will see you in the next episode. So, appreciate it and see you later.